Jeremy Bennett with Purpose Without Fail. I'm in front of my family home here in Missoula, Montana. If you're watching this to start, I invite you to check out the first part of this, of this two-part video to introduce my dad and his banjo building and my stepmom Evie. So this is, I really want to share some reflections that I had over the past trip so far, and specifically having to do with your spiritual GPS. And there's a couple of experiences that I had that I think are relevant. So when I first started out from Connecticut, there was the seatbelt line that was going off. Every time I started off, it would beep at me for 5 minutes, and then it would stop, but then the light kept on blinking, even though the sound was off. And I finally figured out, oh, I've got stuff on the seats. It thinks that people are on the seats, and then it's saying, dude, put on your seatbelt. And I drew this as a correlation to our mind or our emotions. Sometimes when we set off in new directions, our mind says, "Danger, Will Robinson, danger!" and gives us a lot of trouble. Not trouble, but it thinks that there's a problem, but in reality that there's not. And interestingly enough, God bless the Prius designers. After a couple of days, that stopped. They finally, I think, realized, oh, this is something on the seats. And isn't that the way it happens with our minds when we set off in a new direction, and initially we get all these danger signals. After we're going for a while, then we're like, oh, our mind is like, oh, this, I don't think this really is a threat that I thought it was. Right. The second piece was I was using my GPS. God bless GPSs. But I didn't have the sound on, when it says turn right here, do this and that. Because in town I didn't really use it or need it. So here I am jamming on, listening to NPR, and realize that I'm off course. And really the reason is because I didn't have the sound turned on in my GPS. And this probably, had the opportunity to go through the hills of Pennsylvania, for an extra hour and a half that day. And I really, correlate that to really our spiritual GPS, which is our intuition. Our intuition can tell us things. And sometimes I think that there are those of us who perhaps glance at our intuition from time to time, but we don't have the sound on, right? It's not maybe something that we have practiced actively listening to. And I think another correlation is that we could even be listening to our GPS, but unless we take action, what it tells us to do, we could either be driving around in circles and being frustrated. Gosh, why am I not getting to the destination? And it's like, get on the highway. Or we could be on the highway and say, ooh, isn't that interesting? And take a diversion, a side road, and it's like, dude, get back on the highway. And we kind of wonder why we're not progressing. To the at the speed that we would like to our destination, because we're taking all these side trips. Finally, I had an experience where I'm into Connecticut, or into outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, and it's dark. I'm probably about 45 minutes away from the couch surfing contact that I'm going to be staying with in Cincinnati. And I drive past a big sign, "Welcome to Kentucky." I'm like, what? Kentucky? I'm in freaking Ohio. And so I'm like, no, I just trust my GPS. I trust that I know what it's doing. And all these signs, Kentucky this, Kentucky that. And I'm like, all right, just keep on driving. And, lo and behold, without fail, the GPS got me to exactly where it was supposed to go. Later I looked on the map and figured out, wow, this whole trip has been an exercise in geography lesson for me. But yeah, in fact, Kentucky is right on the outskirts of Cincinnati, Ohio, because that's in the south part of Ohio that borders it. So I drew the quite obvious kind of correlation is, let's say we're following our intuition into uncharted territories, into uncharted waters, and we see maybe some external evidence that might appear that we're going entirely in the wrong direction. But in fact, if you continue to trust your intuition, it will get you exactly where you were intending on going. So, those are some reflections that I had on the trip, and also I wanted to show you, I'm glancing out at the Missoula Basin. I want to show you Mount Sentinel before the end of this clip. I would have taken this behind me, but there it is. It adjusts. There's Mount Sentinel with the M. It's about 2,000 feet tall, and here is the Missoula Valley. Next stop, Portland, Oregon.